Oh my gosh. So 23 countries.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you've proclaimed the gospel in 23 countries, or you were just there visiting for different reasons?
No, I proclaimed the gospel in 23 countries, yeah. Speaking.
Where's the most interesting place you've been?
I would say the Asian countries, Singapore, Malaysia. Now, in Malaysia, for example, it's under Sharia law, right? The entire country under Sharia law. And so my going there to preach was actually illegal. So when I went to the parishes to speak, there were tons of people. I remember one church in particular, Divine Mercy, in the outskirts of Kuala Lumpur. We're driving and they don't, if the government allows them to build new churches, they can't build in the city. The churches that were there from the time of, the Jesuits and that colonial times, they allowed them to continue to exist. But if they allow them to build any new churches, they have to be outside of the city. So we're driving and we're in this factory area where they're making purses and shampoo. And we finally get to this church, which on the outside looks like a kind of a modern building, but inside is beautiful. And there were 10,000 people, one priest.
Oh my. And
so I preached at all the masses on the weekend. There were probably 2,500 people every mass. And they wanted to be there. And they were passionate and they were in love. And I remember clearly from that experience feeling like in countries where there's some oppression is where the church is most alive. This is the church's most passionate. I've had some very moving moments in South Africa, okay? After preaching at a mass in Soweto, which was 2 hours and 20 minutes long, but it felt like 5 minutes. It was amazing. It was beautiful. The mass was in Zulu, Sotho, English, which I preached in English, which, I think they did it for my benefit, and Latin. And some of the main responses were in Latin. So I said, Father, after Mass, I said, Father, it's awesome using Latin. He goes, Latin is the language of the church. Latin's what pulls us all together. And so after Mass, he goes, now we must take Jesus to the people. I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to go say Mass somewhere else. We had a Ciborium with us. So we drive to this squatter camp. Now, when you see these things on TV, much worse in person.
Really?
We're walking through this thing, and it's these tents or these shacks with these tin roofs, dirt floors, no sewage system. I mean, the stench nearly knocked me to the ground. And what I noticed was I didn't see any adults. So I'm figuring, we must be going to where the adults are gathered for Mass. That's why we're here. So we made our way, and so we got to the center of this place, and the only adults that I see are nuns, full habit. It was hot. It was summertime. Full habit, humid, and all these kids. I'm like, well, where are the adults? And it finally hit me in talking with the sisters. This particular squatter camp was for AIDS orphans. These were for children who literally were left in garbage cans, who were driven out, dumped, and then left there. And these sisters gathered all these children, some left in toilet bowls, some left wherever, and they gathered, and the sisters created this squatter camp. And I've never felt more proud to be Catholic than that moment. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced. Everybody else rejects these children, and here is the Catholic Church in the midst of this squalor. In the midst of the anguish, here is the church serving literally the poorest of the poor and the people that are rejected, the people that are not wanted, and it was absolutely beautiful. And I will never forget that experience as long as I live. And even, the nuns handed me one of the kids. And the first thing I was thinking, this kid could kill me. That was my first, this kid had AIDS. This kid could kill me. But then I saw it was just a kid. It was just a baby. I'm like, what you got going on over here? It's just like, it's just a baby, it was just one of the amazing experiences of my life.
How many nuns are serving these children, and how many children were there?
Oh gosh. Well, there were nuns, and then there were volunteers from other countries that were also helping out as well. And the nuns also run an orphanage, which I also got a chance to visit. So, and then they exchange. So there's some nuns that run the orphanage and they go out into the field, and the other ones come back. And there were probably 50, 60 kids there in this camp. And the government supplies, money so they can run the thing. but they all can't fit in the orphanage, so that's what they love to put all the kids in the orphanage. They just can't.
Okay, so obviously children need a lot of care. They need to be taught how to basic hygiene and when to eat and what to eat. How are the nuns and the volunteers doing all that? Or are they just doing it the best they can?
They're doing it the best that they can.
And these children are living parentless, alone in shacks.
Yeah, and now with the volunteers coming in, the volunteers are helping out and teaching, providing support and food and hygiene and all that kind of stuff.
And what were the kids like? What was their disposition?
They were joyful because that's all they know. There's no television.
They're not comparing
They don't have access
themselves
to Western culture. They're at least these kids. They're not looking at what else is out there. So that's all they know, And so they're joyful because they're with, and there's a wonderful sense of community, So it's called Nazareth House is the name of the orphanage that they ran there, and it was just
this was in South
beautiful.
Africa.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, moving experience. Absolutely.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment below letting us know what you thought about the video.